In this video, we will show you how to install your throttle position sensor repair kit on this Chevy Tahoe. This will be located along the top passenger side of your engine. Let's get into it. Okay friends, let's get started on our job. The first thing you want to do is come right over to the negative battery terminal, use an 8mm, and remove it. Set that aside so it's making no contact with the battery. Now we can move along to removing our upper engine cover. In the center of it, you'll find that you have an 8mm headed bolt. Go ahead and remove that. We'll leave that bolt right in the cover and lift this up and out of here. Now we'll use a small pocket screwdriver and start disconnecting the wiring harness from this. Let's go ahead and pry this black lock out of the way. Once you have that pulled back, right in the center of the connector, you're going to find that you have a push tab. Press that down and remove the electrical harness. Now let's start dealing with our wiring harness. What you want to do is make sure that you pay attention to each and every one of the wires. Look for any corrosion or damage, because if you have any of that, you're going to want to make sure that you trim it off. Aside from that, when you're trimming these wires, you also would want to make sure that you leave some of the wire attached to the connector so you can see which color goes where. Now with that said, I'm going to start cutting some of these wires. Now we'll do the same to the other 4. Some people do like to stagger their cuts. That's completely up to you if you would like to do that. Next, we'll continue on to stripping each one of the wires. What I mean by that is you only want to remove the outer layer here, leaving the inside metal aspect of the wire in place. We'll just give these a quick twist and an inspection, and then do the same to all. Now, once you've done all those, it's time to start dealing with the brand new wiring kit. You'll find that it came with a whole bunch of extra wire. What we want to do here is make sure that you have just enough slack on this that can make it all the way over to the throttle position sensor. So you don't necessarily need to have all this wire. Trim it as needed. Once you've done that, continue on to removing the outer coating of the wiring. Now that I have them trimmed, I'll take off that coating. This last one. Now once you've completed that, you'll find with your kit, it came with some wire connectors. We'll take that connector and slide it right on over that wire, press it down as far as you can, and then crimp it down into position. Once you've crimped it on, give it a tug. Make sure it's completely secure. You do not want any loose connections in this area. Let's do the same to each one of these wires. There we are. Now the next thing we'll do is separate our 8 wires into 2 4-packs. The way that we'll do this is having a look at our original connector. You can tell that one of these rows has a yellow, it has a black with a white stripe on it, or tracer, a brown, and then a solid black. So I'm going to make sure that I grab all 4 of those wires and keep those separate. those are the 4 that we'll start with. Now that we've paid attention to that, let's also pay attention to our brand new connector. Let's take that and put it in the same position as the original. Now the next thing that you want to do is start with one of the wires. You can pick whichever one you want. I'm going to go with the yellow. That one is in this far top corner. So with that said, we're going to grab the same wire from the same area on the new connector. We'll take this and we'll connect it with the yellow wire. Double check to make sure you're properly connected to the proper wire. With the blacks, like I said, one of them will have a tracer. You don't want to mix it up. We'll press that in as far as possible and crimp it down. Go ahead and give that a quick tug. Make sure it is secure. Now we'll continue on down the line. I'm going to go with the wire right next to that one. On our application, we have the black wire with the white tracer. I'm just going to quickly double check this. Black wire, white tracer. That looks good. Crimp it down. At this point, the process will be the same for every other wire. Now that we've done the top row, we'll do the same thing for the lower row, separating all the wires. A quick look at our original connector. Match up the wires as you go. Now if we're looking at the bottom of this connector, we're going to start with the far wire towards the rear. That one's going to go with the one with the 2 black tracers. I'll slide that right into position. The next wire will go to our purple wire. On to the green. Last wire on the far corner on the bottom. This one's going to be the solid gray. That looks pretty good. The next thing you'll want to do is heat shrink each side of each one of these connectors. You'll find if you apply some heat to this area, it's going to shrink down against the wire, making sure that no moisture can make its way into the joint. Do the same to all. Double check to make sure you finished each one of your 8 wires. All right, this looks great. Let's continue on with some electrical tape to hold everything together. we are. That looks good. Now that we have the wiring done, let's also continue on to our throttle position cover. On this, you're going to find that you have 4 rivets holding it in place. Make sure you have rivets to reinstall your new kit, or have some mounting bolts that can fit. For this, we can use some M4 by 0.7 millimeter screws. To drill off the head of these rivets, we'll use a 9/32 drill bit. Now we can punch out the rest of the rivet. We'll use a hammer and punch for this. Do the same to all. Now we can reach in here and remove our cover. Once the cover's off of there, you want to make sure you give this a close inspection. It's common to still have the gasket stuck to this area. We'll pull that out of place. Double check the base along here for any corrosion or damage. Then we can continue on with our installation. Now we can have a look at our cover. Looking at the backside, you can tell it has the gasket in place. You need to confirm that. You'll also find up along this area, I used some dielectric grease. That's specialty grease that's going to help keep the moisture away from the area. We'll slide this into place. Now once you have it on there, you can either continue on with some rivets or some of those M4 bolts. We'll put the bolt through and use a nut on the backside. Start them all in there and then snug them up. Once they're all started, go ahead and snug them up. Make sure each one of these is completely tight and it's sitting flush. You do not want any moisture making its way inside this area. All right, let's connect our electrical connector to this. We'll press it in, listen for a click. Give that a tug to make sure it's secure, and make sure that the gray locking connector is pressed into the proper locked position. Now we can install our engine cover. Slide this into position, drop it down, align our mounting bolt with the mounting hole on top of the engine, and snug it up. Make sure that's secure. Now we can reconnect our negative battery terminal. Make sure that's nice and snug. Okay friends, we've got the truck back together. At this point, hop inside the passenger compartment, start up the vehicle, make sure you don't have a check engine light, and then take it for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.